Hey guys, I'm at Angie's house right now, and I decided to stop by here. Why does it look like my camera is not so hot? Let me try to wipe it off real quick. Anyway, I decided to stay at Angie's house tonight because my work is closer to her house than. But a lot of people have been asking me to cover this whole vegan baby dies, and I wanted to take a look at it. I wanted to take a look into the newspaper articles and stuff that were out. I wanted to see what was going on, but at the same time, I wanted to be honest with you guys about some things. I've been seeing a lot of things pop up on social media lately with vegans feeding their animals vegan food, and the animals having lots of problems, basically surviving on a vegan type diet when they're obligate carnivores. I have a few friends that were vegans that have went carnivore keto, and it's changed their life. It's cleared up their skin, their mental clarity and stuff like that, how they function and focus and stuff at work. And I know the main topic of this is the vegan children that have been popping up on social media that supposedly have died. And we're going to get into that. But another part of that too is sometimes our animals are just like our children as well. And there are a few of my friends that still have friends that run some of these vegan groups, and some of them have friends that are in there that send them screenshots of the conversations that go on. And I know, eavesdropping like that and stuff is not necessarily the keen thing to do, because that's not what we want to do as adults. But some of the stuff that she sends me that go on inside these vegan animal groups or whatever, where they're trying to feed vegan foods to their cats and their dogs, and the cats end up with eye infections and ear infections, and they're basically with a recent one was a lady was trying to figure out how to entice her cats, one cat specifically, to eat more vegan food. The cat has basically got to the point where it wants to stop eating. It doesn't eat any of the food that she's putting out for the cat anymore. And basically, one of the other members popped up and said, if you feed your cat lentils, they'll almost like confuse it as like a meat-like product, and they'll eat it. And the response a few days later was, I've been feeding my cat lentils the last few days, and it's like the cats are all fighting lentils. Like they almost believe that what I'm feeding them is meat. This is crazy. This is craziness. You have animals that are basically uh, bred into existence, or are created into existence, and they're obligate carnivores. And we have people out here that are trying to feed them a diet that's not even species appropriate. I don't get this. I don't get how this is what we think of as normal. None of this makes any sense to me. How could you even call yourself a human being and do this type of stuff, not thinking outside of an ideology? What type of brainwashing has to go on for people to believe that stuff like this is appropriate? That this is what society should be doing? Why would you take something that's been given to you in its natural form and try to change it and make it something that it's not, just because your ideology is this is how it should be? Even vegans themselves realize that animals, there are specific animals that are bred into existence that have to be obligate carnivores. That's how they survive. That's how their digestive tract functions. That's how their body functions. They have to have specific things. Well, why do we have this small percentage of the extreme side that wants to take it and make their existence, make what their ideology is, what everybody else's existence should be? It makes no sense to me. It makes me very, very sick to my stomach. It makes me nauseous just thinking about how vegans do this type of stuff. And then lately, I just went online just now. I'm going to look down because I pulled up some articles on Angie's iPad, and I just type in vegan baby dies. The first thing that pops up is 2 days ago. There's an article by the Washington Post, by People.com, by Oxygen Magazine, by 7 News, the Inquisitor, Republic World, Sarasota Herald Tribune, Stuff.com, the New York Times, the Independent. When I see articles like this that pop up, and they're clickbait or they're not necessarily true. Normally, you see like two or three of them, and they go away. But when you've got this many articles all at one time within a few days, it typically means something's already been confirmed, or there is a lot of truth to what's put out already. Maybe they haven't completely investigated it. So I'll go through and I'll look and I'll see my first page is all about the same subject. Second page is all about the same subject. And then it starts getting into stuff from back in August and February when other vegan families have been arrested. They've been put in jail. They've been convicted. So I'll go back here. If we'll go back. All right. Let's go to the New York Times. That's the one I'm going to choose because it's the name that I know the most. I used to work for the Chicago Tribune, and the New York papers are some of the papers we would put out. So the heading here is malnourishing case stirs debate of vegan diets for babies. It happens every once in a while. A child raised vegan develops serious health problems, setting off an emotional debate over whether such diets are suitable for the very young. This week, parents of a 3-year-old girl in Sydney, Australia, were sentenced to 300 hours of community service after they pled guilty to failing to provide their daughter, according to BBC, which did not name the couple. They had put their child on a vegan diet that a judge criticized as completely inadequate and left her severely malnourished, the news organization reported. According to the literature, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the British Diabetic Association, and the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, vegan diets can meet nutritional needs of infants, of the children. The key is to make sure they're well planned and you're meeting all your child's nutritional needs. A registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a spokeswoman in the Academy of Nutrition and Diabetics said this. This is the furthest thing from the truth. You cannot feed a developing baby from the very get-go solely on a vegan diet, not having stuff like EPA, DHA, heme iron, vitamin B12, vitamin D, different things that come from animal products that you will not get in a vegan diet, and expect the child to develop completely fine. It's not going to happen that way. Your child is going to have a tick. They're going to have something wrong with them. This is like feeding children sugar and processed food right from the very get-go. When they're born, they seem fine. They seem normal. They seem like they can function fine. They seem to have regular body functions. Nothing's abnormal to them. But after a time of feeding them high sugary processed baby foods and stuff like that, you notice by the time they're 2 and 3 years old, that child that used to be very attentive to you, that used to focus on your cues, your facial features, your body language and stuff, that used to do the baby signs and stuff like that to communicate with mom and dad, that was a functioning child, slowly starts to lose some of this development, almost as if they have unlearned what they've already learned because of the types of food that you constantly feed them. And by the time they're 3 and 4 years old, they almost seem like there's something autistic about them. They almost seem like there's something about them that's not normal because they've developed this based on the nutrition that you're feeding them. You're starting to destroy them from the very get-go when they're children. Why do you think one of the most important things in baby formula is the fats that they need to develop their brains, the fats that they need to start hormone signaling and stuff like that from when they're children? Why do you think a lot of these children and stuff are going through puberty and stuff really early? It's the GMO products, the different types of ways that we're adding pesticides and chemicals and stuff to our food. And then you take stuff that really has that stuff sprayed all over it, like a vegan diet, the foods and stuff that they eat, they're not eating all organic. Every family can't go out here and find a local vegan farm that they can disclose and see everything that's going on and feed their children the most high, the top of the list, most expensive vegan food out there. You better believe that a lot of the foods that they're feeding are these GMO products. They are these products that have these chemicals and stuff sprayed all over them. And then we turn around and look at each other like, what happened? It's because you're feeding your children junk. Feed them something that's more, give them a balance of something. If you're going to give them green vegetables and stuff like that, why don't you throw a little bit of healthy fat in there from saturated sources? Throw in some good vitamin B12, some DHA, some EPA, some fatty fish or something like that in there with them. Help them grow. Give them what they need to develop and grow. But we're not doing that. Well, I would do that. A lot of these vegan parents aren't doing that. Many vegans cite animal welfare, and see, this is the part that I get right here. This is what I want to focus on the most. Many vegans cite animal welfare and personal health as reasons to avoid animal byproducts such as dairy, eggs, and gelatin. Plant-based diets are associated with a lower risk of chronic diseases as well as environmental benefits. Reed Mangels, a registered dietitian in California, nutrition advisor for the Vegetarian Resource Group, who raised her children on vegan diets, said that vegan babies, like all infants, should start with breast milk if possible. Why is that so important? Because mother's breast milk has a lot of saturated type fat in it. It's got a lot of fat for development and stuff like that. It has just enough sugar to help them grow and get that fatty tissue and stuff all over their body, make them nice and juicy and plumpy, and they grow, they develop. That's why it's so important beyond breast milk. But a lot of vegans now are starting to say that they don't even want to feed their children breast milk because it's associated with animal type products, like we are considered an animal. They don't even want to give them the very natural source of fuel that comes from their body to their children because they think it's an animal type product as well, and they don't want their children to have that. So if it comes from your body naturally, you mean to tell me you won't even feed that to your kid? A lot of them are stopping that completely. I see a lot of the messages that come from the vegan groups because I have friends that are in the groups. They screenshot them and they send them to me. Oh, I'm not feeding my kid that. That's got too much fat and stuff in it. That's how that child develops. That's how their brain develops. That's how they become a healthy child. And then we wonder why 3 and 4 years old they have attention issues. They have all these disorders and stuff early on. It's because we're feeding them crap. We're feeding them junk. While breastfeeding is not possible, a soy-based formula, which is unlike plain soy milk, is especially formulated for babies, can be a good option. Though Ms. Mangels pointed out that some formulas contain derivatives of lanolin and animal byproduct. So you would rather feed your child a soy byproduct. This is the worst trash that you can find in any food. And hold back animal byproduct that's very natural and bioavailable to their body to help them grow, and it has sustainable nutrients and stuff in it that their body needs to give them soy. One of the worst products you can put in your body, if not the worst product. We continue. There's a section in here that talks about I gotta find it in here. There's a section that talks about the ideology behind it. In one of these articles I was looking at, there is a section that talks about the ideology behind what the vegans are doing with their children and how they're raising them nutrition-wise is the only reason why they're doing it. And there are some vegans that agree to that, that say, look, I couldn't do this elsewhere. I mean, this is the only way that I can do this. I don't feel right feeding my child any other way. So my ideology, my thinking process behind this is how I want to do it. This is how they want to. It doesn't matter what's right for the child or what's wrong for the child. It doesn't matter what helps with development. It doesn't matter with any of that. It's an ideology based. It's this psychoticness that they've built up in their head that they think because animals have to die for food that's wrong. It's an emotion based sensation that they just can't get over. So let's see here. The other one that I pulled up. Here it is right here. Vegan Florida parents charged in death of 18-month-old son from malnutrition. This is one of the newer ones. It's loading right now. People.com. Vegan Florida parents. Come on, load. There we go. Vegan Florida parents charged in death of 18-month-old son from malnutrition. Sheila and Ryan O'Leary told police their family ate only fruits and vegetables, and the deceased toddler had been fed just breast milk for a week while teething. So that last week before that child died, while it was teething, they realized the child was not wanting to put vegetables and fruits and stuff in their mouth, so they had to breastfeed the child for nutrition. It was too late. It was way too late. The death of an 18-month-old Florida boy from malnutrition has led to his vegan parents being charged with aggravated manslaughter of a child due to neglect. Paramedics who answered Sheila O'Leary's 911 call on September 27th about her son not breathing found the toddler and his two siblings, aged 3 and 5, showing the effects of extreme malnourishment, said Cape Coral police. The boy, who weighed 17 pounds, was pronounced dead at the scene. Okay, so wait a second. This toddler was 18 months old and weighed 17 pounds. At a year and a half, isn't that what we're at? That would be about a year and a half. Where a year and a half, most children weigh between 23, 25, 26 pounds, somewhere in there. This toddler was arguably 7 pounds underweight on the average of what a child would be at his age. So the boy who weighed 17 pounds was pronounced dead at the scene. Sheila, 35, and her husband, Ryan O'Leary, 30, who told officers their diet comprised only raw fruits and vegetables, turned themselves in November 6th after the medical examiner ruled the boy's cause of death to be complications of malnourishing, including dehydration, affecting the liver and swelling of the child's hands, feet, and lower legs, according to a probable cause statement. Reports from Fort Myers News Press. This is disgusting. The child's death, while tragic, was neither purposeful nor neglectful, but accidental, and listed the death on the certificate as such. Attorney John Muska, who is reporting Sheila O'Leary, said in a statement to local TV station WFTX, "For that reason, I'm optimistic the evidence revealed no neglectful causation of death whatsoever." You've got to be kidding me. The autopsy pointed out that this was a direct reflect of malnourishment, and the parents openly admitted that they only feed their children raw food. Yet, they're going to rule in the favor of the parents to keep them from staying in jail. I would put them in jail, and I would give them a bucket of shit to eat every single day. I'd feed them a vegan diet and let them shit in a bucket every single day and feed them their own shit every single day and see how long they survived, because that's exactly what a damn vegan does to a baby. That's disgusting. The child's death, while tragic, was neither purposeful nor neglectful. But the autopsy points out that it was malnourishment that caused it. That's not neglect, right? An 18-month-old had been struggling with illness for the past 6 months, making it difficult for him to eat. The mother's attorney posted on his law firm's website. The mother said that the little boy began to recuperate, but then started teething, causing him to have new struggles. Well, guess what that recuperation was coming from? Probably feeding him the breast milk the mother was kicking in right about that same time. The breast milk that child needed to develop and grow. This is disgusting. According to the probable cause statement in this case, Sheila O'Leary told police her son hadn't eaten in a week and was only being breastfed during that time. Around 4 a.m., he was briefly nursed before exhibiting shallow breathing, but rather than to act on her concern and call someone, she and the child fell asleep, she said. So, aside from the fact that they said the child was having the most difficult time the week of while breastfeeding, she openly admits that she knew something was wrong, and instead of calling for help or taking the baby to get help, she fell asleep with the baby, and the baby died in his sleep. But there's going to be no probable cause. There's going to be no neglect here. They're just the attorney's pushing for this to just be let go, no problem at all. Your baby died, you fell asleep, you knew that baby was sick, you weren't feeding them right. The baby was deemed from that malnourishment that caused the liver and stuff to act up and the feet and hands and everything to swell. And in the article, it clearly states right here during the investigation, they found out she knew the baby was having a hard time. She knew the baby was showing symptoms of being some kind of sick, but instead she decided to fall asleep with the baby anyway instead of taking the baby to get help. But it's not her fault. They're going to try to let him go. The parents told police the boy was born at home and never seen a doctor. That's how messed up society is today. That's how messed up society is today, to never take that child to go see a doctor, never take that child to see anybody, but the moment that child is sick and they know something's wrong, they fall asleep with the baby and let the baby die. And then when the autopsy comes out, they talk about it's from a malnourishing diet, causing the liver to shut down and the hands and feet to swell. But clearly here in this whole article, it states that this whole situation was neglect. The whole entire thing was nothing but neglect from the very beginning. But they're going to find ways to try to let him go and not put any charges on him. I guess you could just kill somebody and just walk away from it. It's completely crazy. A fourth child found when officers arrived to speak with the parents was identified as Sheila O'Leary's daughter with a man who lives in another state, where the girl regularly visits, which authorities said accounted for the girl's healthier appearance. Well, guess what? Maybe that's why all her children are sick, and the other child that lives in another state with another man doesn't have those problems because they're probably being fed something better than a vegan diet. I used to say I think the vegan diet is better than a standard American diet, but then I changed how I approach that because at least on a standard American diet, you're getting some other vitamins and minerals and stuff like that from more bioavailable sources than just nothing but vegan food. So that's probably why children can grow up a little while before their hormones and stuff start getting out of whack by the time they're 9, 10 years old and they look like balloons. We've got an obesity epidemic at hand here. Kids look like they're 25 years old at 15 years old now. We got an epidemic of children being 180, 200 pounds by the time they're 10, 11 years old. There's an issue here. It's not just the fact that we're not eating right, it's the fact that we don't treat our food right. So that's this article. Let's see what this other one is here. 1 week ago, a couple charged for starving toddler to death after feeding him strict vegan diet. August 24th, 2019, that was the one I was talking to you about where they weren't feeding the child correctly and the child was getting sick. May 9th. Vegan parents face jail time. Newsweek. Australian parents who fed their child a vegan diet face jail time. A 20-month-old was suffering from rickets, a bone condition commonly caused by lack of vitamin D or calcium. The foster mother who took over the girl's care told the court of how she saw the girl being fed through a tube in the hospital. I remember thinking how terrifying, she said. She couldn't sit up, she couldn't say any words, she couldn't hold her bottle. The 20-month-old girl is 76 centimeters, 2.5 feet tall, and wears clothing to fit a 12-month-old. That is absolutely sad. People are shocked at how small she is, the foster mother said. Come on, this thing is acting up. Okay. It's got a lot of ads trying to pop up, so it's freezing up the screen. I hate these damn ads. The child is now technically obese due to her abnormal stature, she said, according to the Australian Associated Press. It's like her body is storing calories in case she needs them in the future. The parents' actions will have no long-term impact on the child's development, said the news agency. So they've been starving the child for so long. When the foster mother took over the child and started feeding the child correctly, now all of a sudden the body's in shock. You're feeding me, packing every little bit of calories, anything that comes in, whether it's sugar, carbs, fat, protein, away because now there's some substance coming in. And the child's probably trying to figure out what the heck, the body's trying to regulate and adjust and do all these kinds of things with this stuff, and it can't even do it because her body just doesn't know what to do with it. Now the child must undergo monthly and bi-monthly blood tests, which have left her traumatized. The woman said, according to the news, she begins to scream and cry if she goes into a medical room or when a door is closed. And the father, 34, and mother, 32, who were not publicly identified, pled guilty to failing to provide for their daughter. Let's keep going here. February. Here's another case. Probably one of the same cases. Florida couple nearly starved baby to death on bizarre vegan diet. Yeah, this is a really crazy one, and I like the way they put this because they're more honest about what was said by the parents here. Florida couple Julia French and Robert Buskey are facing child neglect charges for nearly starving their 5-month-old baby boy to death. According to the arrest warrant reported by local news, the 5-month-old baby, who weighed 7 pounds 9 ounces at birth, had gained only 1 pound in his first 5 months of development. Officers who were called to the couple's home after the neighbors reported the child might be in danger reported that the child had sunken eyes, visible bones, in addition to loose skin often found on severely malnourished children. Titusville police say the baby was under pediatric care, but his parents had ignored suggestions that he be fed organic formula to maintain the couple's vegan wishes. Instead, they switched to a homemade potato-based mash. At one point, when the child was doing good and healthy and gaining weight, he was on an organic formula and they changed it to their own. Detective Lauren Watson of the Titusville Police Department told local media, "I've never seen a child to this level, this close to possible death." The couple said they followed the strict rules of the religious sect, which means that French, who is allegedly married to Buskey, refers to herself as a concubine, according to the local news reporter. I looked that up earlier because I never heard that before. And from what the basic definition that I seen is, this lady that's in this cult-like group, they're calling it a cult-like group, is more like a sexual relationship style status where they're in like a polyamorous relationship, and she is beneath the man. She doesn't equal to the same level as the man does in whatever the hell this deal is that she's in right now. And they switched over to their own type of eating and what they think the child should be on instead of following the recommendations of the dietitian for the baby and putting them on an organic vegan formula that actually has some kind of fat and stuff like that for the baby to potentially develop into something better than whatever they had them on. And this child was on the verge of dying. And this is the kind of stuff that's going on. Well, it was called, they called themselves concubines or something like that. And I have the definition saved on my phone. I just don't remember the wording correctly. I know it said man and woman in polyamorous relationship, woman beneath man, less than man, or something like that. And I was like, wow, what the heck is this? And then it specified in parentheses something about they have their own beliefs and the way they do things. Let's go to the next one here. Well, I know Mormons can have multiple wives, but if you're in a polyamorous relationship, normally you can have multiple partners with each other, but they all kind of know each other. They all kind of feel like I watched shows on this where they're talking about the woman had two boyfriends and both boyfriends lived with the woman, or like a man has two girlfriends and both girlfriends live with him, or dual or triple couples all live together and they all like sleep with each other and stuff like that. But her specific portion, it says they had their own views of everything and they kind of did their own thing their way. And I'm not trying to make you guys feel uncomfortable about any of this. I'm just literally being completely open and honest with you about the situation. I'm just sick and tired of seeing this stuff go on. And nobody saying anything about it. Like you'll have a few people pop up from time to time and they'll mention it, but that's it. I mean, we need to beat this. We need to beat this subject like it's somebody's like somebody touched your child. We need to beat this daily and put this in front of people, just like trafficking and stuff like that. This is important too. Children dying because their family choose an ideology over what the baby actually needs, how they're supposed to be healthy and grow. Mom diagnosed with breast cancer when her baby stopped feeding dies after shunning NHS treatment in favor of vegan diet. I'm trying to get some more info here, but this thing is like really acting up. It doesn't want to give me the actual information because it wants to put ads and pictures and stuff up, and it's trying to load everything like that first, which is ridiculous. You know where a lot of this stuff is coming from? A lot of this stuff is coming straight from the UK. A lot of this stuff is coming from like Australia and stuff like that. Why don't people over here in the US really do as much of that stuff as I'm starting to see from overseas? I don't get it. I hear more like so much more of that stuff going on overseas than here. Here they're just fat sloppy pigs. And then you look at people overseas and they're all trying to do this vegan stuff and everything else and they don't look nowhere near as bad as we do in a lot of the countries, but their families and their children look like they're dying. The 37-year-old from Dalbury Lees, Derbyshire, turned down a mastectomy, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy in favor of holistic treatment. Katie, mom to 5-year-old Delilah, fought the disease with alternative methods for 3 years before her death last weekend. Her husband Neil confirmed she had passed away in a post on her Facebook page. He said, "It breaks my heart to write this, but on Saturday, the 25th of May, Katie, with the name Grace and strength, handled herself through life peacefully, passed to the next." So she must have turned down all her treatment and stuff like that to try to fix herself on the vegan diet, and it did not help her. Small lump. A few weeks later, got devastating results, which confirmed she had 3 tumors. Doctor said it would be treatable, but without medical intervention, she would die. After her own research, she decided to turn it down and take an alternative approach, adding that it was the best option for her. 2017, the mom wanted to defend her decision to turn down NHS treatment and change to a vegan diet. She said, "I feel really fit and well, and I'm still able to work and look after my daughter. My diet, which involves mainly raw fruit and vegetables, has really helped. If I had chemo, I think I would be almost bedridden." As well as switching to a vegan diet, she also tried holistic supplements such as iodine-rich brown seaweed, raw turmeric, and black pepper. She also tried hyperbaric oxygen chamber for therapy, which involves breathing pure oxygen at higher atmospheric pressure in an enclosed chamber. It's said to cause oxygen to absorb by all body fluids, cells, and tissues. February, Katie Jory learned that her cancer had developed into stage 4 into her lymph nodes. The doctors told her the treatment would only slow down the progression and shrink the cancer. Katie had found a specialist in immunotherapy outside of the UK and had been fundraising for the treatment while she died. Her husband Neil and parents Carol and Ron were supportive of her decision to forego the advice of the doctors. Dr. Catherine Zolman, a GP for over 20 years, medical director of the Pennybrawn UK, said the lifestyle and dietary changes alongside the conventional treatments can increase the changes of long-term survival, but warns that in cases of treatment on NHS is potentially curative, it should be taken more. It should have been taken before the opportunity is missed. So the doctors were against what she was doing and wanted her to take the treatment to try to cure it, but instead she chose a vegan diet over trying to cure her cancer that was growing inside her, and the vegan diet didn't help her at all. It actually got worse, and it snowballed into stage 4, and then it looks like possibly while she was considering the treatment, even though she was still foregoing it, she died anyway. Uh, you know, I don't want to read any more of this. I could just keep going and going. Children need to be fed. You know, me and Angie got into this the other day, and if she sees this, she's not here right now. Um, I don't know if she'll see this or not, and it'll probably get me in a little bit of trouble for even mentioning this. But we were making a left turn, day 259 on. Let me see what Vincent said. Day 259 on keto, 1.4 pounds to go to reach my goal weight of 200 and 143.6 pounds of fat gone today. Wow, great! That's amazing. That is great. You know, like I said, Angie may see this and it might get me into some trouble because I'm bringing this subject up again. And I told her I was dead serious when I talked about this. We were going to make a left on one of the main roads. We were going to get some stuff for the crafting that we were doing, and she had brought up that she babysits a little child, and that child got up early in the morning and she gave the child some animal crackers and some applesauce. And immediately, the first thing that came to my mind is my child will never eat that shit. Excuse my language, but I said, you know what? I can understand a child having a snack or something every once in a while, or midday while they're playing. You want to feed them a little something like that. But 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, that is not going to happen. Not with my kid. Not when their body can't use that type of fuel, and it's a wrong type of fuel to put in your body first thing in the morning anyway. It will never happen. She got upset with me because I didn't even give the option. I said, my child will not have any of that stuff, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're going to eat some good food that can nourish their body, that can help them start the day if that's what they want. But there ain't no goldfish and applesauce going in my kid's mouth at 5 o'clock in the morning. I know better now. Once you gain the knowledge and you don't decide to do something about your children's health and look at the long term effect of them developing, that's your problem. And I'm not going to have that problem. I'm not going to let my child fall into the trap of becoming obese by the time they're 10 years old and their hips are hurting. And I dated a girl, well, that her kid was 10 years old, 5'10", 185 pounds, and the doctor was very concerned for this boy because his dad was a very, very large man. And he was a very tall boy. And 185 pounds at 10 years old, he looked like a grown man. And I took that boy under my wing. I cut all the junk out of his diet. Within 7 months, he had already lost 30 pounds. Just cutting all the junk out of his diet, riding his bike, going out with his friends and stuff like that, letting him make his own plate instead of his mom making his plate. And he lost all that weight. And that's what me and his mom got into the biggest argument about, is let him go to the stove and take food out of the pan and put it on his plate. That boy's the size of a grown man. He could go do that himself. He does not need you to do that. Well, I'm his mom and I want to do that, and that's a decision I'm going to make. Well, finally, after dealing with this for 6 7 months and seeing him grow and grow and grow, and they're packing all this stuff on his plate that he wasn't going to eat anyway, and the only reason he ate it was because he thought he was going to get in trouble for not finishing his food. One day I stood up right before dinner and I said, everybody get the hell out of the kitchen. Josh, come here. Here's your plate. Fix your food. Well, he went up and he fixed his own plate, and he got like literally half of what they would normally do. And he went in the living room and he sat down and he ate his food, and he was fine. And they were upset with me for about 2 weeks. I didn't. She would even talk to me, but he kept doing this and he kept doing this, and the first 2 weeks he lost almost 10 pounds just by them staying out of his plate and letting him do it because he knew he wanted to eat. He knew that he was eating all that food because they were forcing that on him, and they thought it was grandmother, mom thing to do, the loving, nurturing thing to do. And a lot of you don't realize when you do stuff like that, you're doing more harm than good. Let that boy make his own food and get out of there. You're all right, Vincent. Thank you for sharing that. So there's a lot of things that we do to our children, and we don't even realize that we're doing it to our children. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up is you can underfeed or malnourish a child. You can overfeed them and cause more of a problem as well. Make sure you know make sure you know your kid, and don't raise them like I was raised. I can't tell you what to do, but I was raised what is put in front of you, you're gonna eat, and you're gonna finish it. And that's what caused a lot of my eating problems later on in life. That's why still to this day I'll try to finish everything on my plate, even though I'm not hungry and I know I need to stop. When your child says, I'm done, I don't want to eat anymore, and you know it's an honest, sincere, I'm full, do not make them finish what's on that plate. Pick it up, put it away, store it in the refrigerator, whatever you got to do. Don't make them finish that. That's where a lot of bad eating problems start, is when food is forced on people that don't want to eat. If your child comes in and says, Mom, I'm really not hungry right now, and you know that's a meal that they would typically really like to eat, they're probably really not hungry. So while you can't underfeed them, you could also overfeed them. There's a number of things going on. I've been dating people, and her son come in, Angela's son come in, and he say, look, I don't really want to eat right now. I would just like to go play my game. Let him go play his game. He's done his chores for the day. He's telling you he don't feel like eating right now. If he's hungry, he'll come and tell you he's hungry at a reasonable time. He knows if he goes to bed at 9 o'clock, 9:30 or whatever, that's your eating window up until then. But past that, you know you're not going to get up and eat. You're going to wait until the morning. There's nothing wrong with a kid being in a little bit of a fasted state if they're not hungry. They can sleep through the night and they up in the morning eat a good breakfast. And when I mean a good breakfast, I mean some good food. Some, pastured eggs or something like that if you can afford it. If not, some regular eggs are fine. Feed them a little bacon, some sausage or whatever. Cook up a chaffle or something like that, something low carb. Keep the grains and sugar and junk out of it. Or even if you want to put that stuff in there, make sure it's the healthier versions of that stuff. The, that's a huge problem we have right now. And what we're doing right now, our children learn that stuff. And that's why Angie got mad at me when I said, when me and you have kids, you're not feeding my kid at 5 o'clock in the morning applesauce and goldfish. If that kid wants to eat, that kid's going to eat some good food. It's not going to be applesauce and goldfish. And she said, have you ever dealt with a kid at 5 o'clock in the morning and see how much hell you have to go through, plus get ready for work and everything else? And I said, you get me out of bed, or I'll be up with that kid and I'll go make their breakfast. They're not eating junk. They're not going to go through what I see other kids going through or what I went through as a child. That kid will be fed correctly, not bad. They're going to eat good food. And when it's time for a snack and stuff like that, we'll do that. But it ain't at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's not something that's going to happen every single day. Anyway, I don't want to beat this anymore. I just felt very disgusted by the things that I'm seeing pop up about these vegan people feeding their children vegan food. And these children are dying. These children are getting put in foster care and stuff like that when things are found out because they look very malnourished. Guys, I mean, say something about this stuff. Don't be the person to see this video and then you get off of here and then you go about your business thinking about some crazy guy on YouTube that bitched for 40 minutes about a vegan diet. Get off here. Keep your eyes open when stuff like this pops up and share it. Say something about it. Do something about it. That's how things get done. If you just close your mouth and you're a person that is passive aggressive, you just don't want to say nothing, you don't want to do anything, that's how things continue to snowball and nothing gets done. Get off of here. When you see something like this pop up, go say something about it. Our children are the future of what we're going to have to deal with later. They're the ones that are going to be your boss later. They're the ones that are going to be the president of the United States later, the head of whatever medical facility later. They are the ones that are going to run that stuff. And if you don't start now, what are you going to, this stuff's going to be 10 times worse 10 years from now. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys. I just wanted to get on my high horse and rant a little bit about this and just let you know what I was thinking and what was on my mind. And we got to do something about this. This stuff is crazy. Anyhow, I hope you all have a great day. and, again, I apologize for ranting like this, but not an ideal setting. I'm not in front of a pretty picture and flowers and candles and everything else like some of these people, but I had to let it rip tatership. So, no pun intended there. Anyway, take care, guys. Be blessed. Have a great day.